AI never sleeps, and this week has been absolutely insane. We have a new super realistic deepfake lipsync tool. This new image editor is even better than Gemini or GPT-4o. We have a new open source deep research tool. Alibaba releases Qwen 3, and this is the best open source model you can use right now. This AI is really good at segmenting things in videos, and you can even run this on just a smartphone. We have a new video clothes swapper and a lot more, so let's jump right in. First up, we have a really useful AI called EdgeTAM. This can find and track any object in a video, but best of all, this is super tiny and you can run this directly on your phone or other consumer devices. So it's really easy to use. First, you would upload a video, and then for the first frame, you would click on the object that you want to track. You can add multiple points on the frame to ensure that you select all the objects you want to track. The model then gives you a mask or outline of the object, and then it continues tracking this object throughout the video. So here's another example where we can select the dancer in the foreground, and notice that the user is adding multiple points to ensure that it selects not only his head and torso, but also his pants. And then afterwards, you can see that it's able to segment the dancer throughout the video, even though he's doing some really complex dance movements in the video. And then here's another example, but this time, instead of selecting the dude in the front, we are selecting the guy on the right. And again, it's able to segment this really accurately. So this is based on another segmentation tool called SAM2, but they've tweaked it further so that it runs 22 times faster than SAM2 and achieves 16 frames per second on an iPhone 15 Pro Max without quantization. So this is insanely efficient, and you can potentially run this on your laptop or phone or other consumer devices. Now, if you compare the performance of EdgeTAM with other similar segmentation tools across all these different benchmarks, note that EdgeTAM is not the best. So SAM2 and SAM 2.1 still achieve the highest accuracy in terms of video segmentation. And that's because for EdgeTAM, the researchers condensed this to be a lot more efficient. They're not going just for quality, but also for efficiency. So actually, if you look at the very last column, I believe this is the frames per second count. If you run this on an iPhone, note that for all the other video segmentation models, you can't even run it on an iPhone. And then for SAM2, it only outputs 0.7 frames per second, which is of course not usable. But for EdgeTAM, you can output 16 frames per second just on an iPhone. So this is really impressive. In fact, this might be the first AI model that can actually do video segmentation effectively on a mobile device. The nice thing is they've already released a GitHub repo, which contains all the instructions on how to download and use this locally. So I'll link to this page in the description below for you to read further. Next up, this AI is also really powerful. It's called ICEdit, which stands for In Context Edit, and this can basically edit images just using natural language. So for example, if here is the original image, and you prompt it with holding a cup of tea, eyes closed, it indeed closes her eyes and makes her hold a cup of tea. Or here you can get her to wear diamond earrings and a golden ruby crown, as you can see up here. Or you can also make her hair dark green and her clothes checked. I think this should be checkered, but anyways, it indeed understands the request. Or you can also get her to be on the beach with colorful clouds in the sky. Or you can also just turn this into a watercolor painting. Here's another example where you can edit this further and further. So here's the original image. If you first prompt it with change the background to Hawaii, it does that. And then next, if you change his outfit to a aloha shirt, Hawaiian shorts, and surf on board, that's indeed what it does. And then for the next step, if you replace the boy with SpongeBob and make it a comic book photo, that's kind of what you get here. And then finally, you can also add the text Aloha Hawaii on the bottom like this. Here are some more examples. So let's say this is your input image. Well, you can set the scene to be in the evening with fire burning. And this is what you get. Or you can also replace this building in the original photo with the Eiffel Tower. Or you can also remove the purple flower petals from this original image. So in the end, here is your result. Here are some other examples. So let's say for the original image, you have this watermark here. You can just get it to remove the watermark. Or here's the original photo, you can prompt it to remove the dog, and it does a pretty good job of it, although there are some remnants of his whiskers over here. And then if this is your input photo, you can prompt it to turn this into a pencil sketch. Or you can also turn anything into a watercolor painting, or an anime illustration. You can also change facial expressions. So here, if we prompt it with make the man smile, it makes Kobe smile. Or here's another cool one. If this is your input photo and you prompt it with make the fire hydrant spill water, it indeed generates this super realistically. Here's another example. If this is your input photo, you can make it snow like this. Or here's an even more insane one. So here's your input photo. You can turn the table into plastic like this. And it actually pulls this off while leaving the rest of the objects on the table consistent. Here's the crazy thing. Apparently, this even beats Gemini and GPT-4o in terms of image editing. And these two are already like the best semantic image editors out there. So here are some examples. If this is your input image and you add pink sunglasses to the woman, here is Gemini, which is pretty good. And then here's GPT-4o. Notice that it completely changes her face, so that's a fail. And then here is ICEdit, which I must say looks pretty good. It's hard to spot any flaws with this. And then here, if we change this girl into a watercolor painting, notice that for both Gemini and 4o, they don't really turn this into a watercolor painting. Whereas ICEdit generates this a lot better. Here, if you want to place a golden crown on this person's head, Gemini could kind of pull it off, but the crown looks way too big for her head. And then GPT cannot even generate this due to some safety guidelines, I assume. And then here's the result for ICEdit. And then finally here, if we want to get this woman to wear a red robe and black jeans, notice that for Gemini, it does get her to wear a red robe, but somehow it changes the background as well. And then for GPT, it's not bad, but it does change the face of this woman slightly. And then finally, here is ICEdit, and not only does it correctly make her wear a red robe, but it also keeps the face and the pose of this woman consistent. So it's super impressive. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've released a free Hugging Face space for you to try this out online. So let's click into this, and it's pretty simple to use. Here's where you would upload an image, and here's where you would enter your prompt describing what you want to edit. So for example, let's upload this photo of Zuck, and then let's write, he is wearing a red bikini. Let's click run and see what that gives us. Alright, so it's not too bad. Now, I chose this image in particular because it's pretty tricky. It includes hands and fingers plus this Facebook logo in the background, but as you can see, it was able to retain all of these details and just edit his outfit to a red bikini. Let's try another example. So I'm going to upload this photo of a car, and then let's change two things. I'm going to write make the car blue and make the tree into sakura blossom. Let's see if it can do that. Note that this is blazing fast. It only takes around 10 seconds to edit the image. And here we go. It indeed turns the car blue and turns the tree into sakura. How cool is that? Alright, final test. I'm going to upload this photo of a woman, and then let's try this. Tongue sticking out, closed eyes. Let's see if it can pull this off. And here's what we get. Now, some could argue that this doesn't really look like the original person, but I don't know, maybe when she closes her eyes and sticks her tongue out, she does look like this. Who knows? Now, in addition to the Hugging Face space, they've also released a GitHub repo, which if you scroll down contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Plus, the nice thing is not only do they have a Gradio demo, but another user has already integrated this into Comfy UI. Anyways, all the links are up here, so I'll link to this main page in the description below for you to read further. The crazy thing is, this isn't the only semantic image editor that came out this week. So in the same week, we have yet another open source uncensored AI which uses natural language to edit images. It's called HiDream E1, and as the name implies, this is based on the image model called HiDream by Vivigo AI. And by the way, HiDream is the best open source image generator we have right now. If you want to learn more about HiDream, definitely check out this video if you haven't already. Anyways, back to HiDream E1. This builds on top of the HiDream base model by allowing you to edit images with just a prompt. So here are some examples. Let's say this is your original image. You can prompt it to change her hair to red and you would get this, or you can convert her into Ghibli style and get this. You can also add sunglasses or turn this photo into a sketch or into Disney Pixar style. Here's another example. If the original image is this apple, well, you can replace it with an orange like this. You can also change the wooden table to marble. So it's really good at understanding your prompt and knowing what object in the image to change. Here are some more examples. If this is your input image and you get it to write level 30 unlocked on the cake, it indeed replaces the text with the new text. Or if this is your source image and you prompt it to add autumn leaves, that is indeed what it does. Or if this is your source image, you can change the style to a cubist painting like this. Now, if you compare this with other AI image editors like OmniGen and Magic Brush and Gemini, note that on average, HiDream E1 apparently beats the other image editors. The nice thing is, they've already released everything, so on this GitHub repo, it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Plus, the link to the model is already on Hugging Face. So if you're interested, I'll link to this GitHub repo in the description below for you to read further. And also, let me know in the comments below, do you want me to do a full installation tutorial on HiDream E1 or perhaps ICEdit? I might do one if there's enough interest. Next up, this AI is also super interesting. It's called Fantasy Talking, and this takes in a single image of a person and an audio clip, and it can generate a realistic photo of that person speaking the audio. This is great for creating deepfake videos of any person or character. So here are some examples.
Don't scare me like that. My birthday party's in 10 days, and everyone in the past is gonna be there.
So that's one example. Here's another example.
How to reset your life when you are feeling lost. Dear friends, good day to everyone. On this long journey of...
Notice that this isn't just lip sync, but it animates the entire photo. It makes her whole head and body move, it makes the umbrella move, plus it even animates the rain in the background. So this is way more natural than other avatar or lip sync tools that we've seen a few months ago. Here's another example.
Welcome. You're just in time. I made a fresh batch of my world-famous...
Again, notice it also animates his entire body, including his hands and fingers. So this makes the overall scene super natural and realistic. And yes, he does have 5 fingers on each hand, and they do look realistic.
If you're seeing this, it's your reminder to get up and go after it today.
Notice how, again, it doesn't just make his mouth move, but it animates his entire body, including hand gestures, plus it animates the people and the crowd in the background. Now, obviously, the audio sounds super robotic and AI, but if they used a more realistic audio, it would be really hard to detect that this was AI generated.
Breaking news. AI is getting so powerful that you could turn photos to video.
Notice as he speaks, it also kind of changes his facial expression to match what he says. So this is a super realistic deepfake lip sync tool. And this doesn't just work for realistic photos, you can also animate 3D Pixar-like characters like this.
Oh boy. Do I got a story for you?
And it can also animate animals as well.
We're turning up the quality of your characters.
Now, if you compare this with the leading deepfake lip sync tool called OmniHuman by ByteDance, which I featured on my channel before, and by the way, OmniHuman is really good. Definitely check out this video if you haven't already for my full review and test. But anyways, back to Fantasy Talking, I don't think it's as good as OmniHuman, but hey, this is free and open source, whereas OmniHuman, at least for now, is only available on their online platform. Anyways, let's look at some examples.
Don't scare me like that. My birthday party's in 10 days, and everyone in the past is gonna be there.
So as you can see, in terms of the lip sync, OmniHuman does kind of have more accurate mouth movements that are aligned with the audio. Here's another example.
He belongs here on the island with us. not in some home put out to pasture by the archdiocese.
In a quiet village where the sky brushes the fields in hues of gold, young Mia discovered a map leading to forgotten treasures.
Again, as you can see here, OmniHuman just does the lip sync a bit better than Fantasy Talking, which is a bit more rigid. But nevertheless, both tools are able to animate the entire person and the background, making this a really realistic and natural looking video just from one image. Final thing to note is that Fantasy Talking is by Alibaba, so not surprisingly, this is based on Alibaba's Qwen 2.1, which is currently the best open source video generator you can use. The nice thing is they've released everything already, so if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've released a GitHub repo, which contains all the instructions on how to download and run this on your computer. Plus, this has already been integrated into Comfy UI. So if you're already using Qwen in Comfy UI, you can easily add this new feature as well. Anyways, I'll link to this main page in the description below for you to read further. Speaking of AI tools, you've got to check out Gamma, the sponsor of this video. Gamma is the easiest way to make presentations, websites, and socials with AI. If you're a marketer, agency, educator, consultant, or basically anyone who needs to create a lot of content, Gamma is the all-in-one content creation platform for you. You can easily make beautiful presentations, websites, social media carousels, documents, and more, even if you have no design skills. For example, with just a simple prompt, I can create a beautiful sales deck for an AI consulting firm in just minutes. You can export this to Google Slides or PowerPoint, or share this link, or even present it right within Gamma. Here's another example where I create a full homepage for the AI consulting firm. And you can easily import your own branding and themes. It's just so fast and easy to use. They've grown to over 50 million users. Plus, they've just revamped their site for an even better user experience and AI performance. Visit gamma.app to try Gamma for free today. The link will be in the description below. Also this week, Alibaba released Qwen 3. This is a family of hybrid reasoning models that's completely open source. The crazy thing is, it even matches or surpasses leading models from OpenAI, Google, and DeepSeek, especially in terms of math, coding, and reasoning tasks. So for example here, if you look at Live Codebench, the largest version of Qwen 3 scored 70.7, which even beats OpenAI's O1, O3 Mini, and Grok 3, and Gemini 2.5 Pro. Same with Code Forces. It got 2056, which is even better than the other leading AI models. And then same with this BFCL benchmark, which is a test on function calling and tool use. Again, Qwen 3 scored the highest among these models. Now, this family consists of a ton of models in various sizes, ranging from 0.6 billion parameters all the way to a mixture of experts architecture with 235 billion parameters. Now, of course, the more parameters you have, all else being equal, the more intelligent and performant the model will be. And this last one is the one that's on par with the leading AI models out there. But even these smaller models can be super useful. If you have like under 5 billion parameters, then this can be run on everyday devices like smartphones or laptops. So you can potentially have a GPT-level chatbot living inside your phone or laptop, which you can use locally for free and offline. And note that this is under the Apache 2 license, which has very minimal restrictions. You can even use this for commercial purposes. Now, this Qwen 3 family introduces a hybrid approach to problem solving. So they support two modes, similar to how on ChatGPT you can toggle this reason feature on and off. And this is also the same as, toggling the thinking mode on and off for Gemini, as well as the think feature for Grok 3 and the deep think feature for DeepSeek. So anyways, if you toggle this thinking mode on, then it basically takes time to reason step by step before delivering the final answer. And this is of course ideal for solving complex problems that require deeper thought. And then they also have a non-thinking model which just spits out the answer almost instantly. And this is suitable for simpler questions which don't require as much thinking. Another awesome thing about Qwen 3 is that it supports 119 languages and dialects. So here are all the languages and dialects that it supports. So this is really good for multilingual tasks. Now, if you look at some independent leaderboards, here's one by Artificial Analysis, and you can see that the largest version of Qwen 3 scores 62 on their intelligence index, making this the best open source model out there, even better than DeepSeek R1, which was the previous leader. And this even beats some closed source models like Gemini 2.5 Flash, as well as Claude 3.7 and GPT-4.1. Another super impressive thing is if you look at the cost, this is insanely cheap. This is the cheapest model per 1 million tokens compared to the other leading AI models. So in terms of performance versus cost efficiency, Qwen 3 is actually the best choice out there. And if you look at another leaderboard called LiveBench by Abacus AI, Qwen 3 is over here, again slightly ahead of DeepSeek R1, making this the best open source AI model you can use right now. Now, they've already released all the models on Hugging Face or ModelScope, plus they have a GitHub repo, which has instructions on how you can run this locally on various platforms, such as Ollama or LM Studio. Or if you don't want to download this locally, you can also try it for free using their online platform called Qwen Chat. So you just need to sign up for free, and then at the top here is where you can select the different Qwen models. So here is where we can toggle this thinking feature on and off. So let's try a quick example. If I prompt it with look into the health benefits and potential risks of creatine, let's see what that gives us. Alright, so you can see its thinking process over here. It's actually very similar to DeepSeek. It's actually really interesting looking into its thinking process. So here it's trying to recall what are the main benefits. There's also some talk about neurological benefits, potential cognitive benefits. What about other health aspects? Maybe it has benefits for this, but I'm not certain about that. And then next it's moving on to potential risks. Other possible risks, could there be effects on the liver? I should also consider drug interactions. Long-term safety is also important, yada yada yada. But wait, are there any populations that should avoid creatine? Pregnant or nursing women perhaps, etc, etc. And then let me check if I'm missing any key points. And then after a lot of thinking, here is what we get. So that's just a really simple example. After several days of using this, Qwen 3 does seem to be among the best and most performant AI models out there. And honestly, I can't believe they're just open sourcing this. Especially while other companies like Google and OpenAI and Anthropic have only closed source models behind a paywall, Alibaba is just open sourcing Qwen 3. And as you can see from some of these benchmarks, it's as good as the best models out there, especially in terms of coding, reasoning, and agentic tasks. So huge props to the Alibaba team. Anyways, all the links to the models and the GitHub repo and Qwen Chat are all up here, so I'll link to this main page in the description below for you to read further. In addition to Qwen 3, Microsoft also released 5.4 this week. This is a family of small reasoning models that's particularly good at solving complex problems using step-by-step thinking. And like Qwen 3, it's especially good at handling tough math and science and coding problems. Now, the 5.4 family consists of 3 different models. We have 5.4 and then 5.4 Reasoning and 5.4 Reasoning Plus. As you might be able to infer, the reasoning model basically gets the AI to think longer step by step, and this is particularly useful in solving complex tasks. And then the Reasoning Plus allocates even more compute and thinking time to the model to get it to think deeper. Note that for each of these models, they are 14 billion parameters in size. So this is super tiny, and you can potentially run this on laptops or mobile devices. Now, if you compare the performance of these reasoning models, which is in green, while they are not state-of-the-art, they are pretty close to the best models out there. And this is especially impressive considering its tiny size of 14 billion parameters. For your comparison, DeepSeek R1 is 671 billion parameters, and then O1 and O3 Mini are probably in the hundreds of billions of parameters, but we're not really sure because these are closed source models. Here are some other benchmark metrics, and as you can see, 5.4 Reasoning and Reasoning Plus score pretty close to GPT-4o and o3 mini, even though these models are again probably hundreds of billions of parameters in size, if not over a trillion. Here are some other benchmarks, the AIME, Math 500, and GPQA Diamond, which is like graduate level science questions. This is really not bad for a model that's only 14 billion parameters and could potentially be run on your laptop. The nice thing is they've released all the models for you to download and run locally already, so you can either download them using Azure AI or Hugging Face. And in addition, if you look on Hugging Face, there are already a variety of Hugging Face spaces where you can use 5.4 for free. So I'm just going to click on this one, Luigi 0 GPU inference, and over here is where we can select 5.4 mini reasoning, and you can even enable web search. So let's do the same thing. I'm going to write look into the health benefits and potential risks of creatine, and for all the other settings I'm just going to leave it at the default. So let's press enter and see what that gives us. Alright, so here is our response. Again, similar to Qwen 3 and all the other thinking models out there, it first thinks through how to answer your response, so you can look into its thought process over here. So here it says, first let me think about the benefits. Maybe it improves strength or endurance. There are possible health benefits beyond sports, for example, neurological conditions. Also, obesity-related issues, maybe improving insulin resistance or promoting fat loss. Now the risks, common side effects include, etc., etc. Also specific precautions for certain groups. Wait, what about interactions with medications? And then next, it needs to verify these points against reliable sources. So it's now searching the web and then actually fact-checking everything. And then it puts all of this information together, and then here is our final response. So a very thorough response listing the potential benefits and risks, plus it seems to have fact-checked everything to make sure all this information is correct. And then here are like the references it has used. So another super useful and tiny open source model which you can potentially run on a consumer device. Anyways, if you're interested, I'll link to this main announcement page in the description below for you to read further. Also this week, we have a free and open source version of Perplexity, or OpenAI's Deep Research, or Gemini's Deep Research. So this is called WebThinker, and this is an AI that can search the internet and read web pages and write research reports all on its own. So here are some demos. If you prompt it with what are the models of OpenAI and what are the differences, first you can see that it's autonomously searching the web and gathering all the information it needs. So here you can see it's not only just finding a ton of information, but it's also aggregating and cross-referencing the information and also verifying that all of this information is correct. And then it goes on and on. Basically, it's autonomously using an AI agent to do all of this, whether it's searching the web or compiling information or fact-checking or compiling information. Notice that it does all of this in multiple steps, all autonomously. And so after doing all of this and organizing all the information, here is its final answer. And indeed, everything is factually correct. Here's another example where the user has entered what are the top conferences in the AI field that can be submitted in 2025. So again, this AI agent is going off on its own and searching the web for the appropriate terms to find AI conferences in 2025 that can be submitted to. And not only that, it's also identifying conference dates and deadlines, and then it's verifying and cross-checking that this information is correct. Here it says it's refining search terms, so it realized the initial search term might have been too specific, potentially missing out a broader list of AI conferences, so that's interesting. It's kind of like evaluating itself and deciding that it should try something else to make its answer even better. So after, again, autonomously doing a web search, it's gathering all this information. And not only is it searching for AI conferences, it's also searching for NLP conferences, etc., etc. And then it goes through the same loop of gathering all the data and synthesizing it and then fact-checking that all the information is correct. So this goes on and on. You can see this has been running for several minutes already, and that's because this is a deep research agent that autonomously goes out and finds all the information it needs. This is very different from a regular chatbot, which just spits out the answer immediately, or even a thinking chatbot, like Qwen 3 or 5.4, even though they do take some time to think, it's still not as thorough as actually deploying a team of agents to search the web and synthesize data and evaluate its response, and if the data is not adequate, go back and search the web for even better information. Note that this is powered by Alibaba's QWQ, which is also a free and open source model. This has got to be the cutest AI model name, by the way. So here they've basically built a framework around QWQ so that it's more than just a chatbot with simple answers. It's kind of an agentic framework that can autonomously go out and search the web again and again until it finds all the information it needs. It can also fact check the information, it can also evaluate itself and its response, and if it's not adequate, then it can also revise its plan further. And then finally, it would compile all the information for you into a nice report. Now, here are some benchmark scores for your reference. So for this Humanities Last Exam benchmark, this is basically an exam of really specialized questions from really obscure scientific domains. It's basically very specialized knowledge that most AI models don't really know off the bat, so you really need to do some hard digging on the internet to find this information. And that's where deep research tools like OpenAI's Deep Research and WebThinker do really well. And as you can see here, compared with all these base models, WebThinker outperforms all of them in terms of all these domains. It still scores below OpenAI's Deep Research, but this is a closed source and very expensive model. So it's safe to say that for now, WebThinker is the best free and open source deep research tool that you can use right now. Here are some other really impressive benchmarks. So in terms of scientific report generation, you can see that WebThinker, which is in purple, even outperforms some of the leading closed source deep search models out there like Grok 3, Deep Search, and Gemini, Deep Research. So this is super impressive. The awesome thing is they've released everything already. So at the top here contains a link to their GitHub repo, and here it contains the links to all the models plus all the instructions on how to download and install this on your computer. This is such a powerful tool, especially for scientific research. I can't believe they're open sourcing this, especially while OpenAI and Gemini and Google, they're just keeping everything behind a really expensive paywall. These guys just dropped a very similar deep research agent completely for free and open source. So props to them for doing so. I'll link to this main page in the description below if you're interested in reading further. In other news, Suno 4.5 just dropped, and this is their most advanced AI music generator to date. So according to them, vocals in version 4.5 are more expressive with greater depth, emotion, and dynamic range. It can also generate more complex sounds, from natural tone shifts to instrumental layering to fine sound details. And in theory, this should make it sound more realistic and less AI. It also has better prompt understanding, so details about like the mood or the vibe or the instruments you specify would be reflected more accurately in the generation. Now let's actually listen to some version 4.5 demos. Alright, let's listen to this one. Note that for the prompt, this is country, EDM, and house.
There's a light on in the kitchen and a cold beer in the fridge. One light over the front door shining on the welcome mat. The stars are bright, they look close enough to touch. The fireflies are out tonight, so let them light the way. 'Cause there's a house, a country house. And when I find it, that's where I'll stay. There's a fresh cut row of flowers sitting on the windowsill.
I must say, this does sound like country and EDM. These are like two genres that I could not imagine could go together, but somehow Suno was able to actually generate a country EDM song. Alright, let's try this one. And the prompt here is modern rock and anthem.
Sunday morning, the sun still sky. Stretch my arms and let out a sigh. No alarms, no plans inside. Just me and my day to make it right. Might do nothing all day. Household chores are such a bore. Sunday, Monday, my time to steal. Reset my soul, let myself feel. No rush, no race, no ticking clock. Just me and the world in a gentle talk. Walk the woods on. Gentle nod to the Bigfoot, hidden behind the old oak tree. He knows how to live truly free.
It's not too bad, but it still has that AI vibe to it, plus the vocals still aren't as good as Udio, to be honest. It's hard to describe, but it's kind of lacking that expressiveness that you get with real voices. Here's another one called Staying, and the prompt is indie folk, pop, and rock.
You were calm in a room I couldn't sit in. Always 5 steps ahead, always finished. You talked in numbers, I talked too fast. You were so sure, I never asked. You moved through silence like it meant something. I filled the space with anything. You offered plans, I disappeared. But you stayed, you always stayed right here. And I'm hard to love, but you don't flinch. You make it easy not to quit. You keep me steady, I get lost, you write the list, I cross it off. I'm a mess, you never try to fix. You're the calm and I'm the risk. I forget what I meant to say, but you never walk away.
Wow, now this one sounds really good. The vocals, the instrumentals, they all sound super realistic and expressive. So those are just a few examples of generations with version 4.5. Now everyone hears things differently, so music quality can be quite subjective. Let me know in the comments below what you think of version 4.5. Do you think this is an obvious improvement over the previous version? And how do you think this compares with another leading music generator, Udio? The final thing to note is that in order to use version 4.5, you do need to subscribe to their paid plan, which starts at $8 per month. You cannot use version 4.5 on their free plan. Next up, this AI is super useful. It takes a video of anyone and an image of a piece of clothing, and it can replace the clothes in the video with the new one. And by the way, this is also by Alibaba. Honestly, the tech giants in China like Alibaba or Tencent or ByteDance have just been dropping so many cool AI tools over the past few weeks. Alright, so here's one example where you can take this image of a white dress and then this video of a woman and it would swap her outfit with the white dress. How insane is that? Here's another example. Notice that it only knows to swap her outfit while keeping everything else consistent like her hair and her handbag. Here's another example, and this is super impressive because it even knows how to portray the light reflections on this really shiny dress. Here's another impressive and really tricky example because this dress has a very unique and complex pattern. But you can see this AI was able to get the woman to wear this dress really accurately. So notice that, for example, in the top right, there is this patch without any dark markings, and same with like this patch over here, and also the bottom over here. And it's able to actually add the same pattern on this dress that the woman is wearing. So this is a very accurate render. And you don't have to swap the entire outfit. So here we are just swapping her pants with this skirt. And again, it renders the pattern of the skirt pretty accurately in the resulting video. Here's another example where we can replace her shorts with these white jeans. And for the most part, everything looks pretty seamless. Similar to only swapping the bottom, you can only swap the top as well. So here we are replacing one shirt with another. Here's another really tricky example. This t-shirt has a lot of complex markings, but for the most part, it was able to make the woman wear this really accurately. Notice that the video doesn't have to be full body. We can just have a torso view like this, and it can also swap the shirt while maintaining the original pose and camera movement of the video. Here's another pretty challenging example of this white sweater with a complex design, but again, it's able to pull this off. Now, we do have other AI tools out there that can swap clothes in a video, such as Vivid and Cat V2 Ton, which I've covered on my channel before. But notice that for this new one, which is the rightmost column, it has the least amount of errors, plus it portrays the new piece of clothing the most accurately. Here are some more examples. Note that this new tool is the column on the far right. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, it does say here that the code is coming soon. So it looks like they are going to open source this, which is fantastic. But for now, if you're interested in learning more or checking out more demos, I'll link to this main page in the description below for you to read further. And that sums up all the highlights in AI this week. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. Which piece of news was your favorite, and which tool are you most looking forward to trying out? As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.